Welcome all. This is going to be gate 48 transit. This is for the human design gate, and it's located right here. As you guys can see, my cursor's going over it, and it's on the splenic center, and that's an open center for this transit right here. And so the gate is coming off this. You can see the 48 in a circle of red, and so this gate is coming off that center. And all these gates here in the spleen center are about fear. One kind of fear or another. And the 48's fear of inadequacy, fear of not being enough. And this is a really kind of deep, deep void in humanity. And this feeling of inadequacy is really deep and dark. And it's really our capacity to be more than what we imagine ourselves to be. But when we don't see it, when we only see the lack, then it becomes a great void of fear, fear that we cannot adequately live up to prosper as we're designed to. And this gate 48 in general, the meaning behind it is, let me look at my notes here to be kind of specific with the words here. It's the creative depth. It's the gate of the well. And the 16th is kind of like the talent scout, the financier, the one who can see and pull the talents out of others and also support that talent. And so you'll see this is commonly a channel that is called the channel of talent or the channel of the wavelength. And it's collective and it's a channel common in, I'd say, projectors, sometimes manifestors. But if it's just a splenic definition, then it's a projector channel. And not sure exactly if the channel is a projector channel, but it is a collective channel. So meaning this process is for the collective, not necessarily personal. But if you have this gate, it will affect personally. And so it's about the ability to get one's depth out because people with this 48 have a lot of depth, a lot of creative depth that they're not able to always get out unless they can find a 16 and thus find manifestation through the throat center. Otherwise, a lot of frustration can ensue. And that's kind of the shadow tension of this particular gate. And it is indeed a resource. It's a center, it's a well of inner resources and talents that one can or cannot get out. And in Ra's book of Changes, his I Ching, he notes this as the necessity and qualitative foundation that is a prerequisite to establish the common good. So this is note about our needs and the talents that we have as humanity and our ability to express it when needed. And so the crux with this particular gate and channel is that we only bring out our depths when we're put to the test, when we're put into extreme moments where that depth has nowhere else to go but out. But in periods of non-action, when the body's in non-action, when it's in a non-active state and there's only the void here in the 48, then we as humans can get stuck in the fear, the deep fear, as deep as it is, as that well is, the blackness that it is, the void that it is. With that depth, there can be a great depth of fear of there being anything at all, even there in that well. And so essentially, this becomes an emotional or an energetic state in the body that is a feeling of fear. And so, what we come down to is not to repress or react to that fear or to project it onto others or to seek organized systems in order to give us illusory security over those fears, but rather to sit and feel out those fears. And so, let's organize my notes a little better. So this particular gate does represent one of the most darkest gates in human design because we cannot see that we have the resources or not. And the resources only come when the body is ready to share them. When the channel is connected, when the energy is there and the body's intelligence can manifest out through the throat into the world. And as you could see in this particular gate for this particular transit, we're looking at October 3rd. This is Thursday. That's going to go through Sunday, if I remembered correctly the dates. No, 3rd is Wednesday. And so it'll go through Sunday. And you can see it's the chart of the mental projector because we have the 6447 active here. So we have the South Node in Virgo activating this mental channel, wanting to go back and use logic and rationality to solve, to get past confusion into the channel of abstraction, coming to the aha moment and solution. And the 48 will be looking for the 16, but it may not find it. And so what we have with this transit for Thursday to Sunday, October 3rd through October, what is that, 11th? Or that is, no, the 7th. So the 3rd through the 7th. So this is around the first week. This is the first week of October. And with the chaos of September, there's a certain calm that will ensue in October, a seeming calm. But there's still a lot of tension as the planets move into Scorpio, as Mars covers the ground of Scorpio. And we move into Monday of next week into the full moon in Aries. And that will release a lot of built up tension from this week. And then we'll move into the new moon of October 21st in Libra. And that new moon will also be ruled by Libra. And so finances will come into concern, the continue kind of transformation we're making into a new financial system. And for right now, with this particular gate, the gate of the well, the darkness, it's about each of us during this time looking into our own deep primal fears. Because we have to remember that no matter how great the fear, how vast, there's something, there's us, there's the body that has this deep inner resources that can come out when needed. And so, as I like to say, quoting Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, fear and moral terror are our friends. And if they're not, then they're truly enemies. And so we can remember it like a process by which we begin with the openness, the vastness of not knowing, of the fear of not knowing if anything is really there. But life will bring it out. Life will bring it out when it needs to. And we will reach that moment to express it, whatever's there. And it's not just something about like you personally holding on to this gate. Remember, all these gates are ours. We have every gate, just like we have every center. We may have it consistently defined or we may have it inconsistently defined. Irregardless, energy flows everywhere. And it's always trying to get to one space. And that's the throat center in order to manifest into the world as action. So the major themes of this particular gate coming off the splenic center, where all the fear gates are, the main themes are going to be emotional intelligence in contrast to mental intelligence, which would be the higher centers there. And we know as humans that most of us have real problems managing our emotional states. It's too easy for us to want to project these emotional states onto others. We haven't really necessarily been taught as a culture how to manage our emotions. And in human design language, it would be the emotional wave. Our emotional waves and other people's emotional waves and our open centers, but really our own ancestral patterns located in our solar plexus center, whether we're defined or not. And so these are genetically coming down to us from our ancestors, these ways of being that are so stuck in survival. Because the splenic center is about our mammalian survival. It is about our instinctual survival and the dependence of intuition in order to survive. Spontaneous intuition, which is the authority of a defined spleen center. So we're here learning to manage and handle our emotional states with calm, integrity, and clarity. Otherwise, we just remain children. And so the questions we ask ourselves is, can we take responsibility for our own emotions without projecting them onto others as responsible for them? Or do we have to control reality, to pretend, to put over this sheen over reality, to create a fiction out of it as if it's something we're controlling or can control? There's many ways by which we can deal with emotions. We can use it as a form of manipulation to control others, or we can live an anti-life and avoid dealing with people and emotions and becoming a void where everything just gets dissolved and repress all our emotional content. So we don't want to adapt either extreme. We want to learn to utilize our emotional states and be aware of them and where these patterns come from. And so in some cases, we don't need to know exactly where they come from. In some cases, really what it is just to know what emotion that pattern is based on. And we know as humans that we're like onions, we're nested, there's layers. Just because we feel anger doesn't mean that the root emotion is anger. There could be layers of emotions below that. And that comes with understanding the body and its sensations, but even more importantly than sensations, the body's authority, trusting the body's authority. So we don't have to deal with the consequent issues and problems that come up when we don't follow our personal authority. And in this case, this week, it is mental authority. But, solar plexus will always override that. And we see we have gate 36 active. And so those of you who have 35 are going to feel an emotional wave this week connected to that 36. If you have the 12, you'll feel that connection to that 22, which will activate an emotional wave. So a lot of potentiality for emotional processing this week and like sitting with things, waiting, not rushing out of impatience to express, but sitting with the emotions in the body before they're expressed. This is, after all, an incarnational cross of the weak attention. So take care of the body, stretch, exercise, move. And so there's many aspects to this fear of the void. The feminine body itself has a void, and it even operates on etheric levels with a void, which gives it more power. So we have an inherent distrust, it seems, genetically, with the void itself, with something that feels absent, with an opening, with a well, because we cannot see that well accessed into the material world. Only when we have the 16 is it brought out. But when it's not brought out, it's in its hole, it's in its void, and we don't know whether we have the resources or not. All we can do is we can trust that it's there and that we'll have it when we need it. And that brings the higher frequency out. an expression of this particular gate, which is beyond fear, which has to do with that resourcefulness. Learning not to repress or react to the fear, but to sit with it, to be with it, as I've been saying, to be with the rhythm of life and trust that the energy there will be released when it's correct for it to be released, when it's the moment to be released. And the trust that we're learning here, that we're gaining an understanding of, is that the body is wise. All this knowledge that we utilize in the direction of managing our life is kind of wasted spinning those wheels because it's only the body that really releases the intelligence. And the intelligence in the body goes where it goes, when it goes. We can't control that. With all the transits, the energy goes where it goes. And so what we're learning to do is just accept and allow and be aware and be okay with the fact that it's the body that has the wisdom. It is the body that has the intelligence that turns to wisdom. And so all we can do really is move with the rhythm of life, in flow with the body's intelligence, wherever that intelligence goes, so that we can release our well of creative resourcefulness when it's correct into the collective in order to support others and ourselves in the world. And this is what it is. I'll end with a couple anecdotes. Ra talked about this gate being the gate of black magic. But what he meant by that is that black magic, things seem to be black magic when the source for knowing is hidden. And with this gate, when it's not active, you cannot see the resources. It's just blackness. It's just a void. And so Ra actually compared this gate to like, see, he had a little bit of fun here comparing astrologers to human design analysts. What he said is that he considered astrologers black magicians because they tell you things that you cannot confirm. You know, unless you study and memorize all the symbols and all the historical anecdotes related to certain configurations, you're not going to be, an astrologer is not going to be able to really tell you what and how they're seeing. They're interpreting a symbolic language. Whereas with human design, Ross said, human design is to no form and it's available to anyone. And you guys can see human design is two astrology charts with the added information of a body graph where you can see where the energy is and where it wants to go. And you could see the transits of the day and you could see where it plugs in and where it needs to go. And what centers are colored in and active and which centers are not. And so the knowledge, as Ra noted, it's true. It is available for those who want to invest and understand it. And as I go through these gates every week, you guys too are learning to understand the human design system because there's no one else here doing what I'm doing. No one sits with these gates and goes into deep meditation and expression on the shoulders of the teachers, Ra and Chaitan and Richard and Alok. These are the teachers who went over and wrote about these gates and how they're utilized in the world through the human body. And so I'm meditating on these deep investigations to bring it out to you guys with examples and with the awareness of the week, with the awareness as the days, as you move through the days of a particular week. And so again, this week, October 3rd through October 7th, we're going to have the sun in gate 48, putting light on our inner resources. And so you can watch and feel as your own inner resources come out spontaneously from the splenic center. And look back and see what you resolved, see what aha moments you had this week prior to the full moon. Because remember, every time we approach a full moon, we approach the culmination of something. All of us do, because we all have every sign in our charts. We all have every gate in our charts, every center. And so this energy, the sun, 70% of the neutrinos are going to be flowing through that gate 48, catalyzing, enlightening for us this darkness within that has the creative resources to solve and manifest what is necessary for knowingness and awareness. And we're going through a rough time now. October seems thematically connected to finances, as we've been seeing slowly, as we saw on the equinox, on the fall equinox and that eclipse, where we had a symbolic representative of what Gary and I were talking about in our last show, that indeed there was an economic system that crashed, and it was Argentina. And that could easily be the splintering, the domino effect for other countries. And so we're all observing what's going on and how they're planning to make this transfer to this new system, and whether or not we choose to accept it. And our resourcefulness here will be the key. Not to be in fear that we need to do it no matter what, but rather to say our no's or our yeses and mean them, even if it feels like there's nothing behind it. If the body's intelligence chooses to express a no, then the body's intelligence will back that no. And this goes for your life as well. When we say yes to something and it's correct for us, the resources of the body's intelligence come to support that. And if it's a no, then the body's intelligence come to support that no and clear out any possibility of yes. And usually this is, sometimes it's verbal, but sometimes it's more energetic than anything else. You know, humans can say whatever, but we all feel the energy of whether something is a yes or no. But it is important to express it when possible. And so that's what it is. This is gate 48, the well in the I Ching. And this is about our deep primal fears. And remembering that just because something is in the dark doesn't mean there's not light within, waiting to be released and shared as a resource to the rest of humanity. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next gate, which will be gate 57, my favorite gate. And that's the gate of intuition, also coming off the splenic center. And that gate is all about hearing frequencies, hearing the truth through frequencies. And I'll have that ready for you guys on Monday. So thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Please do like, subscribe, and please share with others if you enjoy this meditation on the gates, whether you fully understand it or not. Sometimes it does take more than one or two listens. What I'm expressing here is various aspects of this gate in relation to our genetic programming and how it works in the daily world. And so there's a lot of layers as I express this. So just know it's not always easy to understand. Sometimes it's real easy for me to express, but I've been reading and listening and studying these gates for a very long time. So for me, it comes a little easier off the tongue and the mind and the body's and my body's intelligence. So again, thank you so much. See you guys on the next one.